today, have your troubles away, maybe learn another way, hanging with Loretta. Now it's time for some fun, it's some inspiration. Don't you stop until you won, hanging with Loretta. Inspiration, education, tons of fun for everyone. It's your life lived today, have your troubles away, maybe learn another way, hanging with Loretta. Now it's time for some fun, get some inspiration. Don't you stop until you won, hanging with Loretta.
Hi everyone, welcome in to the Loretta McNary Show. And yes, we're on location. We are at the beautiful banquet hall of Bartlett right here in Bartlett, Tennessee. And it must be November time because you can tell that Barbara's here in all of her gear and her beautiful, beautiful pulmonary hypertension board. We'll tell you more about that. But before we get started with all that, I just want to say that it has been such a pleasure to learn so much and meet so many amazing people who are with the PHA, which is Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness family. Barbara, Thompson, and I have been doing this show for almost 10 years. We're not sure yet.
Yep, I think it's 10.
It's 10, and we'll tell you the story behind it. I also want to introduce a first-timer on this show, Miss Morristein Holson, and she's with the mayor's office, and she has a proclamation, because one thing Barbara does really, really good, or a lot of things she does really good, and that is spread the word, not only nationally, internationally, and definitely locally. So she has collected several proclamations for this amazing day to create awareness for all the wonderful people who are PHers, and we'll tell you what that means too. But welcome to our 10th or 11th, 12th show, Barbara.
It's a lot. Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. Like Loretta said, we have been successful in getting 7 proclamations this year. 7, which is unheard of. Thank you for everybody who has reached out and gotten them from their cities and counties, and I hope you'll continue on. We have this first one here is from Governor Haslam, and he has declared that the state of Tennessee is Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month in the state of Tennessee for 2018.
Yes.
And the city of Memphis, Mayor Strickland, has also proclamated the same thing. There, thank you, Loretta.
There it is.
City of Memphis. And since we're in Bartlett, of course, we had to have one from Bartlett, Tennessee. Mayor Keith McDonald. Here is a proclamation from Bartlett to present to all of our support group members here. Appreciate everybody coming out.
Yes, everybody that's in the audience and that are attending the meeting and this live taping. And that's not all. We'll tell you the reason for all of this shortly. Just know that she works hard on this awareness.
Well, I'm not the only one though. We've got one coming in from Jackson, Tennessee that came in today's mail. My husband kind of forgot to bring it, but that's okay. Just trust me, we've got it. Teresa Nelson got a proclamation from Lauderdale County Mayor. So Lauderdale County has declared that November is PH Awareness Month. And Teresa Vaughn has gotten the state of Mississippi for the first time that in my, I don't know that Mississippi has ever done a proclamation.
I don't think since we've been doing the show we have.
I don't think so. But well, Teresa's changing everything around. And now Ms. Holman.
Thank you. So I'm here to acknowledge that Mayor Harris has declared the month of November as Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month. And I'd like to read to you the proclamation by the mayor. Whereas the health of Shelby County's residents is the foundation for a caring and productive society, and our future rests with our ability to adequately treat and ultimately find cures for individuals who are affected with a variety of illnesses, including pulmonary hypertension And whereas pulmonary hypertension is a chronic, life-threatening lung disease marked by elevated blood pressure in the lungs, and without treatment, PH patients live an average of 2.8 years past diagnosis. And whereas multiple treatments are available for PH, and those patients who are diagnosed earlier have a longer life expectancy. And whereas education can help with early diagnosis and funding for research can help find a cure, the Pulmonary Hypertension Association is a nonprofit organization that seeks ways to prevent and cure pulmonary hypertension and to provide hope for the PH community through support, education, advocacy, and awareness. Now, therefore, Lee Harris, Mayor of Shelby County, Tennessee, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2018 to be Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month, and call upon citizens to recognize the seriousness of the disease and the meritorious work of the Pulmonary Hypertension Association to find a cure. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of Shelby County to be affixed this 4th day of October 2018. Lee Harris, Mayor, Shelby County, Tennessee.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Harris.
Thank you, our newly elected Shelby County
elected.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mayor Harris. So we're excited about that, and we're so happy that you all are joining us in this fight to get rid of this horrible, horrible disease. And we're going to tell you more about what it is, how everybody's dealing with it, and how far we've come, because you've heard her say is an expectancy of 2.8 years after they've been diagnosed. Well, let me tell you, Barbara has been diagnosed how long?
16 years,
16
December 12th.
years. That is amazing. We are in to win this fight. So we're going to tell you what pulmonary hypertension is, and the short of it is high blood pressure in the lung.
Correct.
Is that what we're saying? That's
Right.
how I learned.
Right.
And so when she first came to me many years ago, she was, you know, if anybody knows Barbara, she is not a person to take no for an answer. So that's how come we're here every 12 years now. So she contacted my producer, and she contacted me, and she wanted to come on the show and talk about pulmonary hypertension. Well, I'd never heard of it. I didn't know what it was, and just didn't know if I could pull off a show with somebody who would, and this is what my honesty and my transparency is, I knew she had an oxygen tank with her. And I had never been in same space with somebody with an oxygen tank, and I just didn't know if I could do it. But lo and behold, this lady is so tenacious and so persistent,
Or hard-headed.
all of that, and stubborn. She started educating me on pulmonary hypertension and her story, and we became fast friends, and we call each other sisters now. So. And when we talk about pulmonary hypertension, this is not something that discriminates. It doesn't care if you're male, white, black, I mean, any color, any ethnicity, and it will come in on you. And it is also one of the most misdiagnosed. You tell us about it, Barbara.
Misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed disease. It's classified as a rare disease. But many in the medical field believe that, as well as the CDC, believe that it's a severely underdiagnosed, misdiagnosed disease, and we try to raise awareness so that other physicians will become more acute to knowing about pulmonary hypertension, and when they see the symptoms,
because it looks like so many other things.
Exactly.
But let's take a break, and then we're going to bring on our medical professional to help us give out the correct information, and then you'll hear a lot of Barbara's story and a lot of other stories like hers. So don't go anywhere. We're going to help you know more about PHA so that you're not fearful of it like I was. We'll be right back in just a moment. Thank you for coming back with us. As you see, we've changed our guests because we're going to cover a lot of information in this short span of a show. We have with us our medical professional, because if you're talking about somebody's life, you want to make sure that you have a medical profession on board. And so we have someone who is so extraordinary, and she has decided to come and join us. Dr. Burbeck is here. Give her a round of applause, everybody. And she, you know, Barbara's going to tell you, and I have on a bracelet, so don't think I'm not wearing my zebra stripes, because I am, some shape, form, or fashion. And even Dr. Burbeck is wearing hers. So tell us, do you remember your first case of who you first diagnosed and how that went for pulmonary hypertension?
I do. My first patient was in the early, like 2003, when I first began to understand and try to treat. I started private practice in 2000. And it was an orthopedic surgeon who had pulmonary hypertension. But as we have learned through the years, it can be a lot more complicated than just an echocardiogram showing elevated pressure. And so in his case, we were just beginning to come out with different medications used, and it wasn't requiring cardiac cath before it would be used. And so he was started on a medication that caused him to have fluid in his lungs. Mm. And that's exactly what can happen. And so I learned quickly and learned everything I could about this disorder as fast as I could. And I became very interested in this disorder because it does not affect just one particular person. It can affect children, people of a variety of disorders. Everything from rheumatological to heart disease, people who inherited it from their families. And it's extremely important that the correct diagnosis is made, as I learned all too quickly. And so in today's world, pulmonary doctors are the primary ones who diagnose and treat pulmonary hypertension. In fact, there is an organization, Pulmonary Hypertension Association, because it is necessary that the proper diagnosis is made and the proper treatment by qualified professionals, so that the medical community has become organized, as has patients become organized. And so I can't emphasize enough that if you are diagnosed with it, that you are taken care of by a qualified professional.
So does it, I know Barbara and I, just over the years, I know it looks like other things, and people are misdiagnosed. They say it's asthma or it's COPD. So how do you know to keep looking for something? Is it because you're not seeing any progress in once you put them on a certain medicine for a certain thing, or how can we really get to it without people suffering too long without a diagnosis?
The first thing to know is the initial symptoms of pulmonary hypertension. And it's usually just shortness of breath on exertion. It's often very subtle, and many people think they're just out of shape or they're not exercising enough. And
can always make an excuse.
And most people, right, can have the beginning symptoms for up to 1 to 2 years before it's even, it gets worse and before it's even diagnosed. Associated with that can be chest discomfort, mainly on exercise, and so that will take many people to a cardiologist.
I told Chuck that I'd be fine if somebody get this elephant off of my chest.
They feel chest heaviness, chest tightness, and for those who have the more severe form of it, one you spoke of that can be very dangerous in 2 years, they can develop where they pass out or syncope. That is a very grave symptom for a person, especially a young person, who has poor exercise tolerance, chest discomfort, and they pass out and don't know why. They go to the ER, they're not going to find anything wrong with them. Then it can progress to symptoms that mimic asthma. And then it can start a person having a fluid in their abdomen, fluid in their legs, and they just think maybe they're eating too much salt. So there's so many.
So it causes Fluid
retention.
retention. Oh,
When I first got diagnosed, I had my ankles and my feet. I was so swollen I couldn't get my shoes on. It was like elephant ankles. So I was textbook with the excessive fatigue and the, and everybody kept saying, well, you're out of shape, and that kind of thing. Well, but Chuck knew that there was more to it with the,
yeah, the fatigue associated with pulmonary hypertension is so much worse than just being tired at the end of the day. It is global fatigue that you feel like you have to push yourself to just do anything. And so many of us feel, well, maybe I didn't sleep enough, or, I'm just, have more pounds than I should, or
my iron is low, or my blood sugar is low. We make all kinds of excuses.
I need a B12 shot.
Yeah, I need a B12. Yeah.
Well, by the time I got diagnosed, I looked like a Smurf. Because when you're not getting oxygen, well, you don't remember things. Plus, with the blue nails or the periwinkle, and the lips. This is lipstick, folks. This is not purple lips.
And
which is a symptom of it. So, like I said, I looked like a Smurf by the time I got diagnosed.
And we're going to share more of Barbara's story, but I wanted to get the medical side of this, because when you hear her story, it is truly a miracle that she and so many like her are still here just by the grace of God, because of being misdiagnosed, underdiagnosed, and not that the physicians didn't care. It was just not heard of a lot back then. But with all these doors Barbara's making and others like her, and then with Dr. Burbeck saying in 2003, so that is amazing how far we've come. So what else have you seen? Have you seen any improvements from 2003 to now?
Oh, wow. Where do I start? There is literally a groundswell of information and progress. In our field, it's probably the hottest field right now of research, investigation, and people are living so much longer. They're living 15, 20 years. They're developing disorders that, that persons of advancing age get now. And much of that has to do with the organizing that's occurring with the pulmonary hypertension. They have developed centers where they have to be evaluated and accredited, so that if you go to an accredited center that you're going to get the finest care that's available. In Memphis, we're beginning to start our center at Baptist, and so yay, and I'm involved in that. And but there's so much groundwork to be done and infrastructure before we even apply for accreditation. But
at least the conversations are being had.
Absolutely.
And the wheels are spinning, so that is a lot of great progress. But we're going to take a break, because I told you we have a lot to share in just a little amount of time, and I just want to say thank you so much for being our medical professional this year as we create this huge funnel to get it out about pulmonary hypertension, because our goal is to save lives. To save lives, to improve lives. And we're going to talk about this other pet peeve that I have, the cost of their medicine. It is crazy. But if you want to hear more about it, stay tuned. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back in just a moment. Okay, so Dr. Burbeck is gone, and it's just Barbara and I. And I mean gone like she's out in the audience now. So we get to share her story. So we get to share Barbara's story, and when I say this story is going to inspire you and it's going to inform you, and you're going to want to get involved, because if this lady fights this hard, she makes me like I'm not doing anything half the time. But anyway, so the saddest part, one of the things that really drove home is when you said your daughter was getting ready to get married. Right.
And they, the doctor, the 14th doctor that Chuck took me to, and that finally got me diagnosed, and he's still my PCP today, Dr. Preston Givens.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had said that might want to move our daughter's wedding up, because if they wanted me to be there, they needed to move it up. So that was scary. I know it was scary for the kids. I was bedridden for almost 2 years with this before I was finally diagnosed. I don't raise awareness mainly for me. It's more for the families, because when you're not getting oxygen, you don't remember anything. Last thing I remember is April of 2000. We used to do weddings, and I got a bride down the aisle, and I told Chuck, he was DJing, and I said, I'm gonna go lay down in the back of the car for a little bit. I don't remember anything until December of 2002, and I don't remember any of it, but my family remembers it. And that's the reason why I try to raise awareness as much as I can, so other families don't go through this.
Okay, let's kind of back up a second and tell them exactly what pulmonary hypertension is for those who just tuned in. And it's a huge medical term and terminology, but it is basically high blood pressure
In the lungs.
in your lungs.
Right. It's a chronic and currently incurable disease that causes the walls of the arteries of the lungs to tighten and stiffen. So the blood, when the blood can't get through, if you think of a garden hose where water can't get through, when it's kinked up, that's basically what has happened in our veins, is that oxygenated blood can't get through to the rest of the body to produce the oxygen. So, of course, when you're not getting oxygen, nothing works.
Nothing works.
So since the doctors were saying, well, she's got asthma, or she has COPD, or she's fat, take her home, put her on a diet, or make her walk, you know, there were so many different excuses that we got, that there should be no reason for this.
Right.
The public has to be aware of this.
And that's why we started doing this show. So when your doctor is telling you one thing and you're feeling another thing, one thing I learned from Barbara is don't take no for an answer. Don't be satisfied with that.
Right.
You know your body better than anybody in this world, and if you're not getting better, keep seeking answers. You have a right to know what's going on.
You are your own best advocate.
Yes,
You
it has
know
to start with you.
when you are not feeling right. You know that something's wrong. And I knew when I couldn't do my beloved weddings anymore, my family knew there was something really wrong with Mom. But
so what made you have all this fight in you? You could have just said, okay, I'm going to take my medicine, I'm going to learn what I can, and, you know, forget everybody else. But that's not what you did.
well, I think it's because this is what God wanted me to do. I love the weddings, and I was so angry at God because He took my girls away from me, the brides. That I loved doing the weddings. But then over the years, I was blessed that the Tracleer, the first oral medication that is still available, it's a little bitty pill, but it's
Is that
it's
the
on
little
that
blue
list.
pill?
Yeah, well, it's not the little blue
Oh, okay,
pill.
tell me about the little blue pill.
Viagra was invented for this disease because it's a vasodilator. But then when Pfizer had it in drug trial, you know, because it's predominantly a woman's disease, there was a couple of men that were in the study, and they had this strange side effect, and Pfizer was, let's see where the money is going to take us. So it became the little blue pill, and it's only been FDA approved just several years now. It's not blue when it's for pH, it's white pill. And
Okay, so she's not on the blue pill, she's on the white pill.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm just saying. Okay, so, but your goal, because time is just going so fast.
All right, my goal is, you know, when a woman feels a lump in her breast, she'll go to her doctor and say, could this be breast cancer? When people are having the swollen ankles, the bluish lips, the excessive fatigue, and the chest pain or heaviness and hoarseness, I want them to go to the doctor and say, could this be pulmonary hypertension?
You bring it up.
That's my goal.
You go and ask them to test you for pulmonary hypertension if nothing else is working and you're having these symptoms.
Right. An echocardiogram can alert your doctor that there is something more that needs to be done. Now, a right heart cath is the gold standard. That's the only thing that can actually measure the pressure in the pulmonary artery. that will definitely say whether you have pulmonary hypertension or not.
Okay.
So, but my message mainly is why I like to do these shows other than bring awareness is that if you've been diagnosed with COPD or asthma or obesity or sleep apnea and your treatment is not helping, ask your doctor about the zebra, the rare disease, pulmonary hypertension.
Awesome. And one last thing, because I know we started the show with Proclamations, 7 this year. She's been getting proclamations for years now, and it is not so she could collect them. One thing you should know, and if you don't already know this, legislation and legislators, the politicians, make the laws.
Right.
And her sending this information to them and they getting the proclamation, that helps the fight. Because
Exactly.
now they can fight for better regulation of medicine, they can fight for better health care, and they can get things done that we as citizens cannot get done. So don't think it's just to say, you know, she did this and she did that. And plus, it's November, so it's the month. We have an entire
a whole
month that just our show and her work itself can't reach a big body of people and get the work done, but she really does, because she gets this around the world. So I just want to commend you, and you know I'm always here.
Thank you.
I will not stop doing this show with you until there's no reason to do this show with you.
She's my love.
And we've
She's
done
my love.
so many different shows. Blue Lips,
have.
Wear This. We got in
Yep.
the Guinness Book of World Records and all
the
kinds of
blue-
stuff.
yep.
But just, what's the website? We'll have it on the little ticker. But I just want to say
It's-
thank you.
It's pulmonary hypertension, that's phassociation.org.
.org. And this lady's a fighter, and she is not by herself. There are a ton of them out there right now, and those who could not be here, and we are lifting them up. We've lost some warriors, but that just makes our fight more stronger and more personal, and we are in it to win it. So pulmonary hypertension,
Look out.
look out. As always, in closing, think positive, dream big dreams, help someone along the way, and we'll see you very soon. Goodbye, everybody.
We'll do it too. Will you take some? Oh, look out.
He's on me.